Welcome, welcome, welcome everybody to another edition of The Blackout. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast. And as always, folks, I am in airplane mode, and I am joined by the biggest, baddest, meanest, most dangerous murder nerd I could find on all of YouTube. The heavyweight champion of whooping your monkey ass all over YouTube's. Give it up for Robert motherfucking Reed.
What the hell is going on? I will never, I told you last time, I will never not find Murder Nerd highly entertaining. I wish I would have thought of that myself. I love the nickname Murder Nerd.
Oh yeah, my man Wayne came up with that one.
I love that. If I would have thought about that one a long time ago, I swear to you, I would have gotten that one tattooed somewhere. I love Murder Nerd, and I've got a lot of nicknames. That one has shot up to my top 5 all time. Easy.
Thanks. Shout out to the boy Wayne. All right. So before we jump into this, what do you mean by that? We have a little something from the personal files, the X files. You know, I don't know what to call it. Shitter, X, Twitter. From Elon Muskville. Elon Muskville. We gotta tell us what's going on with this, man. What are we even talking about here?
So I got my main man Daniel on the hook here, gang, and he was kind enough to look at one of my YouTube shorts. And I stand by what it is I say, because I truly believe this. The whole bullshit that walks hand in hand with, okay, you tell me there's a God. Yeah, I'm telling you there's a God. Okay, prove it. If there is no God, what's wrong with the Holocaust? Again, that is beyond insensitive. That is just downright terrible. And then I see Daniel doing this type of stuff. And I'll be honest with you guys. I don't care about the rest, and because the tweet he sent was Encyclopedia Britannica. It was long as shit. But when you start off with, why Christians can say that kids getting cancer is wrong, again, who cares? Who cares that you can call it wrong? Again, call it toenail clippings, applesauce. The only thing to say about kids getting cancer is, 1, it blows. And 2, where do I donate so that we can continue researching how do we eradicate such a horrible disease? But all Christians care about, or at least Christians like Daniel, is winning these debates. That was Chris's thing. At least I can say something is absolutely wrong. Well, what did you do to stop it? Well, nothing. I just sit here on YouTube and do these fucked up videos. But again, if that's all that matters to you Christians, I say have at it. But just do that shit way over there while everyone else who wants to work to make the world a better place, don't get in our way. But that bullshit, again, at least Christians can say that a kid getting cancer is wrong. Okay, and to the parents that are sitting there watching their kid get pumped full of lighter fluid, they don't care. So I don't care. I had to throw that out there because I just think that is such an way.
Do you want to read it? We can read it.
Oh yeah, we can. Yeah, I'll try.
Or you want me to read it, and then you can stop us wherever we go.
Go ahead.
All right. So let's make sure you guys can see that. Good. All right. Why is kids getting cancer? I don't know why air quotes wrong in the Christian worldview. I keep getting asked this question, and even though I think the answer is pretty obvious, apparently a lot of people don't understand this issue. So I'm going to explain it. First, let's talk about what it means for something to be quote unquote wrong. We'll start with an analogy. Let's say I have an
okay. Again, the moment a Christian starts going into analogy mode, I'm done. It's like when I sit here and I hear them say atheism versus atheism.
Yes.
When they say the classical definition of or the philosophical definition, I'm out. The moment a Christian starts busting out analogies, I'm done. I am done. But again, now we have to sit here and define what the word wrong is. The most important part of this conversation is a child has cancer. And now we have to sit here and, well, what's your definition of wrong?
Yeah, exactly. We have to start. What is it? Is it true that it's
Yeah.
wrong? And all right, so we'll go with this analogy, which again, you're absolutely right on. Why we need an analogy to define the word wrong. Let's just say I have an oven. I think most of us have ovens or have experience with ovens, right? How do we know when an oven is not working correctly? We know when an oven is not working correctly when it's not operating the way it's intended to operate. An oven is supposed to heat up when you turn a specific knob. So if the oven is not heating up when we turn the knob as it is designed, then we say that the oven is not working correctly. In other words, there is something wrong with the oven. We say this because the oven has a specific purpose, and we know the purpose of the oven. And purpose can only come from a mind. No sane person would say, my oven is broken because it can't fly me to Baltimore to see my family this Christmas. Nobody would say this because ovens are not supposed to fly us around. That is not what ovens are designed to do. That is not their purpose. Likewise, if we come across something that we don't believe has a design or purpose, let's say a bubble in a pond, we wouldn't say that the bubble is broken because it doesn't do certain things. The bubble is not meant to do certain things because it does not have a purpose that we're aware of. So the bubble can't be broken. There can't be anything wrong with the bubble. The bubble simply is a bubble. In order for a thing to be broken, it must be designed for a purpose, and it must in some way not be fulfilling that purpose.
Okay, pause the tape. What the fuck does this have to do with a set of parents watching their kid die in front of their face?
I have no idea, but that is it's amazing to me that somebody would go out of their way to put something so stupid out there in public. And then the funny thing is it's like a whole lecture in a tweet, right? And then it's like they're the teacher. I'm gonna teach you what the word wrong means, but you're so stupid. I need to do it by way of analogy, and then you probably don't get that. So let me use the analogy of a bubble. And this is highly suspect.
This isn't suspect. This is insensitive, and this is what I was trying to tell some Christians the other day. I don't have kids, but I watched my mother rot in front of my face. It is something that I would not wish on my worst enemy. No exaggeration. Apparently, according to the doctor, stomach cancer is one of the worst things you could possibly die of. And they said the morphine won't even make a dent. Straight up, your mom is going to fucking suffer. The only hope that you have is that she passes away before the shit gets bad. Well, you'll never guess what. She didn't. To sit here. Well, let's talk about ovens, wrong, bubbles, my left nut. The only thing that matters in this conversation is cancer. And so would you walk up, and I told Daniel this, and any of the Christians, would you walk up to a Holocaust survivor? Well, actually, we know some of them would because Turk did that to Dave Silverman. Would you walk up to a Holocaust survivor and say, well, if there is no God, what's wrong with what happened to you?
Right.
Okay, because if you would, fuck you. If you would sit there to someone who's watching a family member, or maybe them themselves are battling cancer, this is what you say, I am so sorry. Maybe you follow it up with, can I get you a casserole? What you don't do is talk about bubbles in ovens. This is exactly what you sound like when the only thing that matters to you is winning a damn debate. The opening sentence was enough. A kid with cancer, bam. That's the focus. Why the fuck are we talking about Kenmore ovens now?
Yeah.
That's
and pond bubbles.
Yeah, give me a break.
Yeah, and I think at some level, Christians just demand the ability to be insensitive in the name of Jesus. Because I honestly think if you take this person out the church and they get to recover for a few days and they look back at this tweet and read it, they're just going to be like, oh, why did I do that? We need to delete social media. We need to delete social.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
Absolutely.
let me read this last paragraph just so we can see what else is there. All right. So when a Christian says when we as Christians say there's something wrong with children getting cancer, we are saying that this state of affairs is not how things are supposed to be. Things were not meant to be this way. Children were not meant to get cancer. People were not meant to starve to death. And human suffering on a grand scale was not the way things were initially designed to be. Just as my broken oven was designed to not heat up when I turned the knob, the world was not designed to have cancer, suffering, death, etc. When God designed the world, he said, it is good. And it was good. Then something happened to break, spelled like it would be for a car, the world. What happened? Mankind rebelled against our creator and sin entered into the world, which caused the world to change. There would now be death, decay, and suffering. So were children meant to get cancer, suffer, and die? No, that was not God's design. And therefore, there is something wrong with children getting cancer and dying because humans were made to live forever with God in paradise. This is why the Christian has a perfectly grounded justification for saying children getting cancer is wrong and that something is wrong with the world.
So what?
Wow.
So what?
This is crazy.
God.
Actually, to be honest, it's a slightly different direction than I expected this to go, because there's always the angle of there is no objective morality without God, and so what's wrong with it? I thought this is actually a much stupider direction to go with it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Let's say that Kenmore does make the oven.
Yeah.
Right. What happens when the oven breaks? Usually the oven is under warranty, and we hold Kenmore responsible for fixing the goddamn oven.
Exactly.
So how is it not God's fault when he designed the goddamn thing to begin with?
That's easy. Well, everything is God's responsible for everything. He's the Alpha and the Omega. He created the heavens and the earth. So cancer is God's fault, right? No, absolutely not. They want their cake. They want to eat it too. They want to own the bakery that the cake was made in. They want to own the dirt, but don't pay any taxes on the dirt that they own.
Right.
At the end of the day, you're absolutely right. If any of your appliances break down, you call the people that made it. And if they were to give you the answer that Christians give us in terms of God, it's like, hey, Kenmore, you sold me a bad, appliance. I think you need to come out here and deal with it.
Well, were you late to work yesterday?
Yeah. If they blamed me, if they said, don't worry, I'm not going to show up when you want me to, but I'm always on time. You'd be like, you know what? I'm going to tell you what. I'm taking this to the Kenmore factory. And then I'm going to whip somebody's ass. Then I'm going to get on every review service and I'm going to trash you. I'm going to work to bankrupt you. Who says that? Exactly. That's what you do for your refrigerator, for your oven. You're right. If it's under warranty, it's going to get fixed by the people who sold you a faulty piece of machinery. But when it's God, again, he's responsible for everything. So again, he's responsible for that kid having cancer, right? No, Adam and Eve failed their test in the Garden of Eden. Therefore, okay, he made us all. We're still under warranty. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Bad excuses.
And the other thing is God's perfect design included being betrayed by the first people he created. Like literally model number 1 and model number 2, complete failures. complete failures.
Yeah.
And so he then punishes everybody else for all of eternity because he fucked up the first two models.
Nailed it.
And the thing that's so cruel about Christianity is that they won't acknowledge that their all-powerful, ever-loving God could not restore us without this bullshit.
Right.
Why couldn't he just say, oops, you know what? I fucked up the prototypes. Let's take these back into the workshop, fix them right up. Oh, look at them now. They're perfectly obedient. Oh, everything's good. Everybody remained in paradise. Things are good to go. Instead, kids are getting cancer and we're dying and suffering of all diseases and shit because we had to learn a lesson. And apparently there was no other way for God to teach us.
Yeah. Yeah. Translation, watch me spin these bad excuses.
Yeah,
right? Again, you're right. God is responsible for everything according to the Christian model. We were perfect in Eden. Then he set up a no-win scenario where he knew in advance that a talking snake would pump fake a woman and make her eat an apple. That plunged the entire world into sin. Some way, somehow, that's not God's fault. God had to punish everyone with drowning, which, by the way, again, reaching for an involuntary action and it's not there, you'd be hard-pressed to find something that will cause more panic. He drowned everybody. And while everyone was gasping for air, they swallowed water. Everybody.
Yep.
And he replaced the bad model with exactly what you said. 2.0. It's not that it was much better. Apparently, we're worse.
Right.
We're worse. And he has promised us he's going to burn us to a crisp. But some way, somehow, none of this is God's fault. Again, this is why I don't do debates.
Yeah. And and they noticed too that that they put Druzilla noticed that they put wrong in scare quotes, which typically denotes that something's being used out of its ordinary use.
Yeah.
Because to them, everything about morality has scare quotes around it because it's really, if, according to God's perfect plan and God's ideas of what's right and wrong. So they can't even have a straight up conversation with us about, I mean, this whole thing, right, was just I'm going to lecture you on what the word wrong means.
Yep.
By way of demonstrating I have no clue what the word wrong means or how to assign responsibility for who's actually to blame. This is bad. I don't know. It's just funny to me that they went out of their way to they posted this publicly of their own accord to you.
Again, I've been saying this for some time. This speaks to something deeper to me. Again, I want everyone to remember that at about 20 some odd minutes ago, this started off talking about kids with cancer.
Right.
Again, when cancer is on the table, the only thing to talk about is cancer.
Right.
When slavery is on the table, the only thing to talk about is slavery. Same with rape, the Holocaust, shit like that. What you don't do is spin off. And again, fuckface Frank Turk, right? Hey, Turk, I'm a good person, but I don't believe in your God. Am I going to go to hell? Almost 10 minutes later, he still never answered that young lady's question.
Right.
Because now the topic is eternal torment, which by definition is immoral. Well, what do you mean by good? Well, what do you mean by decent? What do you mean by society? What do you mean by and? What do you mean by the? What do you mean by but? This speaks to something deeper. Kids with cancer is a fucked up ass topic. I do not care about ovens. I don't care about car washes. I don't care about your favorite flavor of alcohol. When cancer is on the table, that's the only thing to talk about.
Yeah.
But these suckers are so addicted to winning debates, they actually think that, yeah, let's define wrong. Okay, if Mr. and Mrs. Johnson are sitting right there and they just found out their kid has got cancer, I'm going to go over there and say, I'm sorry. Whatever you need from me, call me.
Yeah.
Do you mean to tell me Daniel and Christians like that are going to be like, oh, Mrs. Johnson, that's fucked up. What's wrong with your kid having cancer?
Right. You know what else you're not going to do is you're not going to walk over and you say, so I heard your kid had cancer. Well, you know, I could snap my fingers and cure that cancer.
Oh, yeah.
But I won't, because your child, your child suffering of cancer is actually going to bring me glory. Yeah. See, when your child's all sort of fucked up and got the tubes and the fucking battery fluid going in and out of them, and then they're rotting away right in front of you, and your whole family is weeping at the funeral, and you have to have a special keyboard side casket made because your baby's brand new. Oh yeah, that's all for my glory. Oh yeah, I'm up in heaven, getting all types of fireworks going on, and people are dancing in the streets. Oh yeah, they get the what? Nothing brings me glory like this. We're gonna have a whole throwdown. I mean, but that's the Christian worldview.
That is 100% right. I have been told on more than one occasion by a Christian that God uses rape to glorify His name. That was like, I spit on your God's name. Right. What makes you think that was okay to say out loud? What makes you think that was okay?
Right.
And yeah, we've all heard it, right? Cancer everything glorifies God's name. Winning the Super Bowl, the World Series, a triathlon, cancer, rape. What is it? I actually heard a Christian say, it was Todd Friel. And he broke the heaven and hell thing down into a very bad mathematical equation. And basically it was, we should be praising God 24/7. And that, again, it was quite literally, did you thank God for air? You rolled, your tires are literally spinning. Did you thank, and he said it, did you thank God for every rotation of your, and it's like, and I've been told that's what heaven is. That's heaven. It's like after the first billion years, you haven't even taken a warm-up lap, Jack.
Yes.
But it's praising God for an eternity. And I'm like, what?
And also I'm gonna tell you it's bullshit too, because Christians, when they go to different churches, especially if they're different denominations, one of the things they love to do is get together on Monday and compare notes about church. Now, the person who wins is the person who says, I got to church at 11 a.m. and I was out of church by noon.
Yeah.
The loser is the person who said, well, you know, at my church, we have to show up at 9 for Sunday school. Then, you know, morning service starts about 10. If pastor gets going, you might not be out of there until 1 o'clock. You know, then they want to have an afternoon fellowship from 3 to 6. The person who spent 6-7 hours in church on Sunday morning, they are suffering, and everybody knows it. The person who's 45 minutes in and out, couple of songs and a wafer, that's the winner.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Christians, you don't want to spend an entire afternoon worshiping God.
Much less a damn. You're absolutely right. It is hard to get some Christians to go to church on a regular basis.
Right.
And again, I have been told by more than one that's, and it's like, wait, that sounds fantastic, Rob. I was like, that sounds fucking terrible. Why would I sign up for that bullshit? But again, that brings us to what you just said. Right? Again, rape glorifies God. The Holocaust, cancer. It's like cancer and kids glorify God's name. You mean to tell me this sucker's his ego is so crippled that he needs to watch two parents watch their 6-year-old wither away in front of their Hey, Mr. Undertaker. We need a casket. What was he, about 6'3"? No, this was my kid. And cancer ripped his monkey ass down to a nice robust 14 pounds. And he's literally like 22 inches long. You think you got something like that in red? That's not okay. I've seen funerals. I watched a newborn. The sucker came out, took 2 breaths, gone. You have not lived life until you have seen a casket, no joke, the size of a shoebox. I sat there and I watched that. Why is this on my screen?
Wow.
There it is. And I watched those parents, and I told my then wife, there's a chapel full of people. We're all sad, but only one person is mourning. We didn't know the kid. The dad is going to sound harsh. He didn't have the same relationship the mom did. That sucker came out of her body, literally took a breath or two, and was done. It was a wrap.
Wow.
In some way, somehow, I'm supposed to sit and listen to someone tell me, well, that glorifies God's name. Well, I'm going to tell you something about your God's name. And I'm going to tell you where you can stick it.
Yeah.
This is all just ugly. And
by the way, cheers, gang. Cheers, Uncle Bobby.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're just sitting here ripping shit apart. We haven't blessed
but
the show yet.
But look, I will tell you something that's ironic about all this. Let God show up one time. Just the whole Jesus look with the robe and you know, maybe a little cross pendant or something to show us it's really him, and just go into the hospital and just go into the cancer ward and just remove about 6 or 7 of them cancers on the spot.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what the ironic thing is? I can't imagine what would give God more glory. People would be glorifying God, singing. Like if God, like so it's not just that they're telling you that the cancer and the death and the dying and the suffering, that all that gives God glory. Somehow it actually gives God more glory than curing it would. Because if they said curing cancer would give my God glory, but you goddamn right it would. Now show up and have this motherfucker do it, and we will sing a couple of songs, pass around the plate, and all that good shit.
But that's the problem. This is a no-win situation for us non-believers. It's a no-win.
Absolutely.
You're right. If he goes in to Brooke Army Medical Center and the entire oncology ward, like, you know what? No cancer today. Bam. Right? It's like, okay, no oncology at Brooke Army Medical Center, but what about the hospital in San Marcos, Texas? Because they're not going to get the blessing. Right? Like, well, he just cured an entire cancer ward. That's not good enough. Again, the fact that this discussion, we
shouldn't be having a discussion. Be all you ever did.
This is like Trump. And I told the fact that we have to say his name should scare everyone.
I got a good one for you. The governor of Georgia apparently said that he would testify against Trump if that's what it came to. And we're like, yeah, he tried to steal the election in your state. That makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
And then that fool turned around and said, apparently, that he would still vote for him.
Oh, yeah. Bill Barr did the exact same thing. He did it again. And at first, again, I still won't exchange Christmas cards with the dude. I saw him say the exact same thing. Because for weeks, he's been kicking the actual factuals. And a CNN reporter asked him, well, that being said, if he was a Republican candidate, would you vote for him? And he's like, well, we'll burn that bridge when it comes. The only acceptable thing to say is no. And the fact that we still have to talk about cancer.
Yeah. Right. It shouldn't even be a thing. Right. That tells you right there. It shouldn't even exist.
If he can talk an entire universe into existence, he could find a way to get rid of cancer. And a Christian's only comeback to what it is I just said was to say the fact that you and Bundy are sitting here being mad that kids die of cancer proves that my God exists. If there is no God, what's wrong with that?
Right.
And again, it's like there's no way we win this conversation.
So I just looked this up real quick, and Mr. Beast, the content creator, very controversially, had 1,000 surgeries performed for people that actually restored sight to blind people. That video has 155 million views. I can't even imagine how much money he's made from it, because this is what he does. And people will literally tell you, oh yeah, he did it for his glory. He did it for the clicks and the views. That's what his YouTube channel does.
Yeah.
Now, not everybody's happy about that. The government should do it. People should have health care. All of that, agreed. But it just goes to show you, no, you can really get some glory from healing motherfuckers. You show up, restore some sight to the blind, and
no, yeah,
the applause will follow. All for Mr. Beast's glory, exactly.
But Mr. Beast has done more to help than the Christian God has. We all have done more to help than the Christian God has. And again, a Christian's only comeback, it's like, well, I jumped into a river even though I can't swim because I saw a puppy drowning. And so I got the puppy out. Shit, I almost died, but the puppy lived, and the puppy parents don't have to cry anymore. And I think I'm going to learn how to swim because that was a fucked up experience. Their only comeback to that is that was God. Yeah, God gave you the will to jump in the river, even though you couldn't swim. This was all set up according to God. See, God again, he's all powerful. When he saw the puppy drowning, why didn't he just Obi-Wan Kenobi that shit?
Right.
Just levitate the puppy and be like, there you go, don't cry anymore. That would have been easy. Again,
right.
He can talk a universe into existence in 6 days, but cancer still happens. The Holocaust, the slave trade, all this bad shit. The fact that we have to even talk about Donald Trump, he's brought the worst out in this country.
Yeah.
If God wanted to say, you know what? Yeah, Donald Trump's just a bad influence. You know what, Donald Trump? That's it. Done.
Uncle Bobby, you know who's not fucking with Trump, though?
Who's that?
My main man, Rico.
Oh.
Yeah, Rico's a bad dude. You don't want to fuck with Rico.
Yeah, Rico. Let me tell you something. Rico's gonna come in there and wreck some motherfucking shop. You know how fucked up you have to be as a former president to have what we use to put the mob in jail sick on your monkey ass?
Actual racketeering.
He's dropping it from the top turnbuckle, Jack. I'm talking Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Yes. And I'm taking it all the way back to 80s wrestling on that one, Jack. I hope and pray before God and 4 more white people that this is the single most glorious trial ever.
Absolutely.
And again, like Christianity, there's no way we win this. If Trump walks, we are fucked. If Trump goes through jail, we are fucked. There's no way we win this. But selfishly speaking,
just enjoy the downfall. Just enjoy the ride.
Oh yeah. And then make sure you lock your doors at night because this is going to get ugly, gang. It's going to get ugly if he goes to jail.
All right, you want to jump into this clip? All right, so
yeah, man, let's bust out some
now. Y'all know the question of the day is if there is no God, what's wrong with Christians? Because that's the only question to answer. But yeah, this video is called "How Wrong Are These Christian Memes?" Magician's Thought. I actually tend to really like this guy's stuff. This is God, I always forget the name of the channel. The Magic Skeptic.
Jimmy Snuka. He killed his girlfriend?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
My childhood. Oh man.
Yeah. And then he like I don't know, they were gonna try him, and then he like died, or he was dying, and they were like, nah, but yeah, it's a whole ass mess. Yeah, and people think Vince may have. Yeah, it's a whole thing. You should check that out sometime. Look into that sometime.
Thank you to my patrons. Your generosity and commitment to my work is astonishing. I sincerely appreciate it.
You say God's not real because you can't see him? I don't think you saw evolution either.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, there's so much wrong with this. I don't know how long this is going to take me to explain.
This ought to be good.
Take the risk of thinking for yourself. Much more happiness, truth, beauty, and wisdom will come to you that way. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hey everybody, Magic Skeptic here, and don't worry, the video is about to begin. I just wanted to take a moment to make you aware of my Patreon, the link for which can be found in
No,
the
you gotta subscribe
all
to the Ko-Fi down there and Uncle Bobby's Patreon. Don't let me catch you out there putting money in other plates.
All you gotta do is click the link in the description below. I hope to see you there. Hey everybody, Magic Skeptic here, and you're all very welcome to another episode of A Magician's Thoughts. What I've got for you today is another exciting, and I dare say hilarious to me anyway, collection of theistic memes, or Christian memes more specifically. The kind of memes that have been designed and created in order to make fun of and to reveal the flaws of atheists and atheism more generally. And I'm going to go ahead and give you a heads up before we jump into this, because just like my other meme videos, you might actually be surprised that your friendly Magic Skeptic agrees with some of the allegations in these memes. And so keep that in mind, dear listener, as we proceed here. I don't want you to be shocked when we encounter some agreement. Look at me being mature and building bridges between atheists and theists. You know, we don't disagree on everything. You just might be surprised about what we agree on. So with all that acknowledged, let's dive into our very first meme. I'm not always vocal about my atheism, but when I am, I'm just as annoying as religious people. What an excellent meme to start with, and a moment of agreement to start off the video, so why not?
I'm with it. I've thought about this. I think what happens as non-believers, look, is it's sort of for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? So you were in a cult, and pretty much everyone in your family lied to you for decades. And so when you come up out of it, you come out of that bitch kicking and swinging.
No question.
And I definitely see myself as sort of an evangelist of atheism. Like I genuinely think religion is a problem in our world, and I'm trying to help people get out of it. The other thing I want to say about all these in general that I think gets lost in the sauce sometime is when we push back, you always get the Christian meekness. Oh, I'm just a Christian. I'm just, I just want to sit in the back of my sanctuary and with my prayer beads and sing hymns to my Lord. Why are you bothering me? But when they're amongst themselves or left to their own devices, Christians are really coming at atheism. I mean, atheists are their favorite topic to shit on. I mean, even I always say, whatever you think that book says about women, or whatever the fuck you think that book says about gay people, when it starts talking about the heathens and the enemies of God and the people that don't fall under God's authority, trust me, you are public enemy number one. So to me, this is like Bloods and Crips. We gonna go at it until only one of us is left standing.
I saw in the side chat, YouTube pun. An atheist, a vegan, and a CrossFitter walk into a bar. How do you know? They've told everyone in the first 2 minutes. I was guilty of that. Now, I'm not like that anymore. But it can be annoying. But like you said, you spent your entire life, decades, being lied to. And there's definitely a slingshot effect to where you want the 10-pound dumbbells on the rack at Gold's Gym. Instead of simply saying, excuse me, you just assume that person's a Christian, and you immediately try to spark up a debate. It's like, hey man, is that a cross around your neck? Prove to me that God is like, okay, it can be that level of annoying. But I still throw a bigger punch for us. Because we were lied to, and there's definitely a slingshot effect to where, you want to get back at somebody for what was done to you. So we can be annoying. There's no question about it. But I think it's a little bit more well earned.
And they dominate the culture, and I think we're still a marginalized group that often feels the need to assert ourselves. But I'm with him. This is kind of a good meme.
Oh yeah,
I totally get this meme. I totally get it. Just to be clear, what annoys you doesn't necessarily annoy me, which is to say that being annoyed is a subjective experience. But I totally understand how atheists such as myself could be frustrating for others, especially theists. I mean, if I'm right, their entire worldview is in tatters. If I'm right, the thing that they've dedicated themselves to, the thing that they have organized their life around, their hopes of seeing their loved ones again and all the rest of it just falls to pieces. So I totally get how atheists such as myself can be frustrating. But even to non-theists, I've had it happen in my life, and any of you out there who are philosophically inclined, shall I say, you'll have had this experience as well, where people kind of like, oh, is he still talking? When is he going to shut up? Or when is she going to shut up, or whatever the case may be. I've had that experience because I'm the guy in the room who loves philosophy so much that I won't shut up about it. I don't have an off switch, and I can totally get how that's irritating for people. I will say, though, that's more a feature of my personality as opposed to a feature of atheism. So yeah, I just want to make that clear. If people become frustrated with me because I don't have an off switch and because my passion for philosophy means that I never shut up about it, that's not a reflection or a poor reflection on atheists or atheism. That's just a reflection of myself. And I do think it's important to point that out. I think sometimes...
Also, this is just a quality of people. Like, do you guys want to know what I hate about my colleagues the most? They're a bunch of fucking science nerds. They're literally, and so, and you know, and you pull up to the meeting, and sometimes you just pull up to a meeting and you're like, y'all are really going to sit here and talk about this boring ass experiment for an hour, aren't you? You are. You're right. And then you go to the conferences and you like travel, you're on a plane, maybe see some cute people. You're like, oh, we're going to have some fun. And you get to the conference, you're like, y'all are going to sit here and talk about science. Oh, God damn. It hurts.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so it's just part of life. You know, when you're part of something, you know, you get caught up in it, and yeah, it just gets overdone all the time. All the time.
Totally.
I'm sure it's the same way at your workplace too.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, no, there's some fitness trainers who even at company parties, is like, you want to talk about the newest fitness trend, right? Well, I saw you do this with that person. Was that to, you know, target transverse abdominis, or it's like,
right? You're like, I'm trying to get a cheat meal in the sun. Can you stop right now?
This right here, just so you know, it's not water. Okay. So the last thing I'm thinking about right now is fitness. Right. Well, I saw that one thing you did with that lady there, and it's like I was curious because I'm thinking about becoming a self-defense teacher. I'm like, okay, you see that hot chick over there? That's my focus right now. Before the end of the night, I'm hoping to rearrange her guts. And so right now I'm sitting here trying to devise a battle plan. I'm going to sit here and talk to you about arm bars. Go get a life. Go walk it off. Leave work at work. I totally get that shit. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we can all be the
human beings, and I'm definitely guilty of this. We can conflate the person with the ideas that they're touting. And it's always important to keep that separation in mind. All that said, I definitely understand where this meme is coming from. And with that sense of agreement established, I'm going to move on to the next meme. I studied biology, therefore I write books against religion and theology. You gotta admit,
a good one.
Say what you want about Richard Dawkins. Love him.
You want that one? Go ahead. It's funny. We should I guess react to him, and then we'll hear what he says.
We are all allowed. Oh, yeah. Christians, you do, right? You got your opinions on us. We have our opinions on y'all. The reason why I give someone like a Dawkins the hall pass, because what that man studies for a living, and despite what some people may think about him personally, like his views on trans people, apparently, this is an evolutionary biologist. And it's not that evolutionary biology. Well, fuck, Bundy, you're what? It's not that you guys are in the business of disproving Genesis. Genesis isn't even the fucking conversation. And so he's a very important voice. You're a very important voice. Sean Carroll is a physicist. And so when we talk about Neil deGrasse Tyson, when we talk about the big origins of the universe, and again, it's not even a part of the conversation. Right. Well, I believe in the Big Bang, too. God said it and bang, it happened. That's cute. It belongs on a bumper sticker, not in a science book.
Right.
And so yeah, y'all's voices are very, very important. And it does, and I'm glad I'm on our channel and not on the Christians, because they'll mutate the shit out of this. What y'all study does creep into this discussion, because if what you guys say is true, then we can wipe our ass with Genesis.
Right.
God did not sit on a cloud and talk however many different species there are into existence. I studied biology, therefore I write books against some of it is his opinion. Some of it is based on what this man does for a living. So, you cannot dismiss the voice of a credentialed scientist. You just can't.
Yeah. So we've done streams, and we'll do another one to just set aside the whole Dawkins on social issues, but to stick more to the meme. The funny thing is, I have actually heard apologists, particularly Donnie from Standing for Truth, basically say this, which is that he's basically said that if you ask a lot of scientists to talk about anything outside their discipline, they'll kind of say, hey, that's not my discipline, I shouldn't talk about that. But we as Christians, we should know a little bit about everything. And so to me, it's the Christians who studied religion and theology, and then therefore think they have, the ability to talk about all the disciplines. And to your point, it's sort of like, well, to me, we're kind of competing for ground here, right? Like we call religion and science and experience, all these different things, like ways of knowing. And yeah, we think science is a superior way of knowing things. So religion is going to get people to claim things or pretend to know things. Those things turn out not to be true. And it's usually science that corrects them. And yeah, I do think it's just, it's a cheap shot, but it works. They're kind of right. Like I don't shy away from this. I'm like, yeah, I think science finds natural explanations to natural phenomena. That's the basic definition of it. And so when you really believe like that, or you practice that, or you're trained in that, you're going to be against theology. You're going to be against this thing that says, oh, we can just use supernatural explanations to explain the natural world. No, sorry, I'm a scientist. I'm going to push back on that. I'm going to have a problem with that. I'm going to teach my students that that's not how it's done, and so it works for them. But yeah, it's like they're right, but it is what it is.
But that's the sad part. You should not have to fight for legitimacy against people that this is the frustrating part of this conversation. You are a credentialed scientist. You should not have to fight against the likes of a Kent Hovind.
Right.
You just shouldn't. And again, and in no other discussion is this valid. If you have a bone sticking out of your skin, if blood is squirting out through the wound, you go to a trauma surgeon and you do it 5 minutes ago. Now, when your pastor sits up there and tells you, well, that's just a demonic possession, so you need to give me $3,500 and say 5 Hail Marys, even Christians say, don't listen to that idiot. Don't do it. Go to a doctor. But now when we talk about evolution, now when we talk about Big Bang cosmology, the exact same person who told you to give me money and say 2 words, now their opinion is valid.
Right.
Matt Powell, Eric Hovind.
They're all in the same gang. Yeah.
They're weapons grade stupid. At least they are in this conversation.
Right.
The difference between me and them, I'm smart enough to admit where I am dumb.
Right.
Those suckers are too dumb to admit where they're not smart.
Yes. And honestly, I would say they started it. Like it's one of those things where you feel like, look, we're just over here doing the science. Our work gets attacked on theological and religious grounds, and so we've got to respond. I'm gonna let them keep going, but you know what, gang? So far these are good memes. So far, these actually have been pretty clever.
If you think he's a good philosopher, a bad philosopher, or anything in between, you got to admit that he is really a bee in the bonnet of theists, isn't he?
Yes.
Just do yourself a favor, dear listener. Google you know, the phrase something like atheists are stupid memes, something like that. And you will see Dawkins' face plastered all over the search results. Theists really have a problem with Dawkins, but I'm going to defend him.
So do
here.
atheists.
So I studied biology, therefore I write books against religion and theology. I get why that might be intuitively appealing. It sounds correct. What the hell is
Keep it going, Bundy. Keep it going.
Biologist doing writing about theology?
If people don't understand the beef, Dawkins has insisted that sex is a binary, and it's not. And he is really clearly, to me, anti-trans. We'll be covering that more, like we've covered it in the past, and there's been some recent content that I think we'll cover as well. But yeah, you guys, if you don't know that, that's the beef with Dawkins. And I actually think it's a huge problem because he's such a, you know, he's a science communicator, particularly an evolutionary biologist, and his works are very popular. He's held in high repute, and he is throwing his sort of voice to the bigots and at like the worst time possible. Right, we're in the middle of what I consider to be an effort to just at complete trans erasure in our society, and I think he's contributing to that. But nevertheless, you know, the meme is the meme. I don't think it's really bringing that into the conversation. But yeah, I'm not a Dawkins fan right now.
Philosophy and God and so on and so forth. But in Richard Dawkins' defense, he wrote The God Delusion because he observed that creationism, especially in the United States, was launching a political campaign to try and have creationism taught in science classrooms. They wanted intelligent design, as it was so called, to be taught alongside evolution as an alternative theory of creation, as an alternative explanation for how the variety of life and speciation and so on and so on and so forth occurred. So Richard Dawkins didn't pick a fight with creationists. Creationists picked the fight with him. They came into his domain and said, actually, God did it all. Darwin and all the rest of it, that's cute. God is ultimately responsible. And so much so, we believe it so fervently that we're going to campaign to have it taught in science classrooms, not religion class. It would be totally okay to discuss creationism in a religion class, but to have it taught in a science classroom, that is absolutely appalling. And that is the very thing that animated Richard Dawkins. So
again, quickly, it's kind of is like Trump too, because I'm going to tell you something. This matter has already been settled. And I say something that's not popular, but I want you to know I believe it's true. All Christians are creationist. Now, we talk about the young earth creationists, but one of the things we teach our students right away in the semester, because we do talk about creationism in the Darwin's Law class I teach with Rob, and we talk about the varieties of creationism. So we talk about young earth creationism, old earth creationism, and even what is called theistic evolution. And theistic evolution is basically, oh yeah, I believe in evolution. I accept everything that science teaches. I just think God did it. But when you put that full spectrum together, all Christians are creationists, because how many they might say, oh, I don't believe in young earth creation, whatever, but how many Christians would actually say to you, I do not believe God created us? Like none. Like, because again, are you even a Christian at that point? So I just want to say that I think there's something there to that insecurity. I think what Christians are responding to is the reasonable understanding that if you undermine creationism, you undermine the whole thing. If God didn't create us, then there's no fall. Genesis is bullshit. There's no sin. What did Jesus die for? So their fears are well-founded, but they lost. And the reason I compared it to Trump is they lost in the court of law. If you see my debate with Kent Hovind, it's on this channel, it's on Donnie's channel, and it's also on Kent's channel. That was one of the things I made very clear, was that, you know, in a court, a federal court, it was decided that creationism is not science and it's illegal to teach. And people still believe it and teach it anyway. So it is just like the fools who will say, yeah, Trump broke the law. Yes, what he did was wrong and illegal. Oh, yeah, but he's still the way to go. Yeah, he's still the best option we have. I mean, that's essentially what they're doing. It's not only been settled in the science literature. It's also been settled in a court of law, and they still believe it. So a lot of good that did. All right, let's keep this rolling.
All right.
This meme tries to present him as a nosy idiot who's entering a domain that he doesn't belong in. But that's not the case. It's quite the opposite. It's theists who poked their nose into his domain, and all he did was respond. And again, we're not going to talk about the merits of the God delusion. Maybe you think it's an excellent work, maybe you think not so much. Maybe you think he's a great philosopher, maybe you think he's a crap philosopher, but none of that is relevant here. The point is that this meme has it exactly backwards. Dawkins didn't pick the fight. It's the creationists that picked the fight. All Dawkins did was respond. And he responded pretty well, in my estimation. Does that mean I agree with everything in the God delusion? No, but it got a very important conversation going, or at the very least, he brought the conversation.
But again, we could just flip it all day long. I studied theology, therefore I write books against biology and cosmology.
Oh, yeah.
Or I write books about physics and chemistry, right? Because that's the thing, is they actually, and the funny thing is, studying biology would be better, right? I always say this, like, we start narrow and you go big, right? So you start as, I actually study a very small part of evolution, but that makes me an evolutionary biologist, which makes me a biologist, which makes me a scientist, which makes me a scholar, right? And so, it makes me an academic, so you keep going bigger, right? And so you at least, as a biologist, are a scientist and a legitimate scholar who knows how to do research and get stuff through peer review, all this type of stuff. When you actually go to school for theology or religion and hocus pocus, there's no general applicability to it whatsoever.
Back to the surface. There's no denying that the God delusion was a landmark moment in the history of atheism. It absolutely changed the game. It's responsible for so many people in the world becoming atheists. And whether he's right, whether he's wrong, whatever the merits are,
That's a good book.
You cannot deny it as a conversation starter and as just an important moment in the paradigm, which is the debate between atheists and theists. So with all that said, and with that corrected, let's move on to the next meme.
Right.
People should not impose their religious beliefs on others, which is why I'll use government to impose my atheism.
Pause the tape already.
Oh, just shut up!
Yeah. Okay, that is sitting on some bullshit. Okay, so just no. Yeah. Why I use the government to impose my atheism on you? There is nothing correct about that meme.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. The government, we're still trying to make the government stop imposing Christianity on all of us. I live in Texas, where you still can go into public schools and see Christian verses and gyms. I grew up, and my high school football program was literally run like a church service. I mean, please show me a single example where the United States government is imposing atheism. They're not. And what Christians think is the government imposing atheism is the government actually enforcing the law, saying, okay, you see that verse that's hanging in the locker room of a football team at Bowie High School in Austin, Texas? Yeah, you are aware that Bowie is a public school, right? Yeah, take that shit down. If you are getting government funds, tax dollar funds, they have to remain religiously neutral.
Yes.
Christians are fighting because they are feeling equality.
Right.
Right. So, that verse has always been up. The head coach and the principal, they've always led prayers. I know that, but they're not supposed to.
Right.
And that's not my opinion. That's what the law says, because that law that protects me from you protects you from Muhammad.
Right.
Because if Muhammad sat there and be like, all right, boys, we got a game Friday at 7:30. Go ahead and bust out your prayer rugs. Let's everyone get on our knees, face east. and say Allah is the one true God and Muhammad is his prophet. Let's go ahead and bust that out. You would shit on yourself.
Yes.
The government is not imposing atheism.
And that coach would absolutely be fired because only
Heartbeat.
Christians are allowed to do that.
Exactly.
It's crazy. So a couple things. One is, this to me is like a big fuck you from them, because this is one of those ones where they know this is what they're trying to do. They absolutely know it. Number two, I gotta say, I've been thinking about this recently, but I actually think the whole separation of church and state, the way it's actually practiced, it really actually just protects religion. It works for them. And it's more like it keeps the government from interfering in their ability to do their religious activities. And also, they've really figured out that they can effectively just make sure all the lawmakers are Christian, right? And then
absolutely.
And then we get Christian law by proxy. But the other thing is, they can go fuck themselves, because the truth is, I wish we were imposing our atheism on everybody.
Oh God,
because again, that's how it's supposed to go, as you were saying. I always say this, we are standing on the only common ground. If we truly lived in a country that separated church and state, that would mean, as the United States was supposed to be founded, that you'd be operating exclusively under secular values, which is keeping God out of this motherfucker, which means the government is supposed to be effectively atheistic. That doesn't mean everybody has to be an atheist. It just means that no particular religion has a place in, controlling the common order. So go fuck yourself. That would be us just doing shit normal, regular, how it's supposed to work. If only.
But that's the fucked up part. Again, and this is the real fucked up part about this conversation. There are tens of thousands of different denominations of just Christianity. And so it's like, we should have theistic rule. We should follow God's law. Then you sit down and like, okay, Christian A, talk to Christian B. Christian A will tell you that Christian B has no fucking clue what they're talking about, and vice versa. Christian B will tell us that Christian A is so bad at being a Christian that they're going to go to hell and be tortured, Robert, right next to you. We should keep this thing neutral. It's not that we should. That's what the law states. Now, again, if you want to go to a church on Sunday and have some stranger tell you that you ain't shit, I think that's a really I do. And that you take your kids there so that they can hear that we're shit. I think that's a bad idea, but that's up to you. Now, when the gavel hits and the U.S. government makes a law, it should be based on reality. That's why we have this bullshit down here in Texas.
Right.
They sat there, and when they passed these draconian, these cruel anti-abortion laws, Texas leadership got up and said, this is a victory for God.
Yes, every time.
And so when we sit here, again, it's Greg Abbott's version of a God. It's Ted Cruz's version of a God.
Scary.
This is why laws and rules should be made based on reality.
Right.
Greg Abbott, and I'm not saying this to be cruel. I'm saying this because it's the actual factuals. Greg Abbott's God watched a tree fall and crush his spine. That man is confined to a wheelchair. And I got no jokes about that. That was all within God's will. You know what was else in God's will? Putting Greg Abbott in leadership position so that he could strip rights away from other people. Ask Greg Abbott, hey, you know those fucking floating buoys in the Rio Grande? Yeah, the ones that are tripped with razor wire, where people are literally losing their lives trying to cross the fucking Rio Grande. You know what Christians will tell you? That's God's will. This is why you base laws on fucking reality and not what some invisible sky wizard thinks.
Yes. Yeah. And we have the first, Republican presidential candidate debate coming up on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. So how much do y'all want to bet that at some point faith comes up? And then how much you want to bet the Republicans are going to sit there competing, tripping over themselves to convey who is more godly and God's candidate?
Those things just become one big fucking FCA meeting. Right. That was the only good thing about the Trump campaign, not his presidency, but his campaign. For the first time, at least in my short lifetime, the Republican side of the political party wasn't a big church service. Now that they're going to separate themselves from Trump, you're right.
It's going to be right back.
Oh, yeah. Hey, well, what do you think about Social Security? What did you think of? All we're going to hear about is John 3:16, how faith guides my decision. This is going to be terrible. Yes, I'm going to do a lot of drinking that day. Big time.
Absolutely. All right, let's roll some tape.
Let's roll the tape.
This is bullshit. This is just not the case. This is not true. Now, don't get me wrong, there are definitely societies where atheism can be enforced. You know, I'm thinking of communist nations and things like that, where religion can be fundamentally outlawed. But I wouldn't agree with that. I'm a big believer in freedom of expression and freedom of religion and freedom from religion. You should be able to express yourself however you like, so long as it doesn't hurt or harm others, so long as you don't impinge on other people's rights. That's my view, and any atheist I've ever met has had the exact same view. I suspect what this meme is talking about is when atheists launch objections to having, I don't know, nativity scenes in public and paid for by public money. In other words, paid for by taxes that everybody is throwing in for. That's immoral. It's called separation of church and state.
Boom.
That's not an enforcement of atheism. That's an enforcement of secularism. And therein resides the confusion that's at play in this meme. Guys, secularism and atheism are not the same thing.
Boom.
A secular government is simply a government that prefers no religion. Just because it prefers no religion doesn't mean it prefers atheism. No, it's just not giving a privileged position or status to one religion over another, or none for that matter. If you're going to permit the government to spend public money on a nativity scene, then you must allow that same government to spend money on an Islamic public display, on a Hindu public display, on a Buddhist public display. So long as that right is available to everyone, that's fine. It either has to be available to everyone or no one. That's the only way that it can be equal. That is the whole point of secularism. That's the whole point of separation in church and state. And don't come at me with this, oh, but this is a Christian nation hogwash. That's absolute bullshit. You can talk about whether or not a nation is Christian and why that you presumably mean
I'm
that
going to get
most
another drink. I'm coming back to that.
I got to get another drink. All right.
Denizens of a particular nation are Christian. But that's the whole point of human rights. What if I told you that there was going to be a set of laws that disproportionately and negatively impacted persons of color, and I defended that by saying, yeah, but you know, this is a white nation. Most people in this nation are white. So shouldn't the laws and the privileges be in favor of those people who are white? You would rightly call me a racist if I was to articulate a position like that. But for some reason, Christians have this blind spot where they see equal treatment as some kind of an attack against them. Not giving your Christianity a privileged status is not state-enforced atheism. It's just called equality. It's fairness. It's the separation of church and state. And the sooner that Christians and theists more generally can understand that, the sooner we can get along and dispense with this ridiculous debate. Stop pretending that equality is an attack on your religion.
Pretending.
If that's what you believe, you are a colossal ignoramus, and it says a hell of a lot about your moral compass or lack thereof. And with that said, I'm not going to give this meme any more of my time. Let's move on. Wants an end to religious persecution. Persecutes on the basis of religion.
Another Dawkins.
And here we have the theist's best friend, Richard Dawkins, once again. Don't you just love that smile of Richard Dawkins? He looks really giddy. He looks like him and his mates have just cracked an inappropriate.
First and foremost, I have learned I just need to bring my alcohol in here.
Yeah.
The whole BS that this is a Christian nation, Christians, you don't even believe that. For at least here in America, because he does not sound like he's from the South, I'll just say that much. Again, for the American patriots who love to jerk off to all this crap, if you have read even the first 5 sentences of the Constitution, you know good and goddamn well we are supposed to remain religiously neutral. Period. End of story. And again, the exact same laws that protect me from you protect you from everyone else. Again, if we and we've seen these examples. There was an example in North Texas not just a couple years ago where Texas straight up said you can now hang religious imagery, Bible verses, and all that stuff in public schools here in the state of Texas. Christians were like, oh, this is going to be a party. And a Muslim got up at a city hall meeting, was like, yeah, I'm going to tell you what. Here's my religious imagery. And it was written in, I guess, Arabic is the language. Like, yeah, what's that say there, Mr. Muhammad? And it was something literally like, it says, God is Allah, and, Christianity sitting on some bullshit. Let's go ahead and hang that up there. And he was doing it to prove a point.
Yeah, exactly.
And, oh my God, the Christians sitting on the board sat with every excuse they could pull out of their booty hole. It's like, no. You just said that we can hang religious imagery.
Right.
Here is my religious imagery. Well, according to paragraph A, subsection, I don't think you heard what I said. I want this imagery hung up in the classroom. Make it happen. Let's go. Make it snappy, nappy. Christians, you know good and goddamn well this is not a Christian nation. You know good and goddamn well that the law that protects me protects you from everyone else.
Right.
Again, what you are feeling is this thing called equality. You know this, but you guys just want your own way. So you can sit here and cry and bellyache. Okay, I just came back for that.
What happened?
What I'm looking wants to end religious persecution.
Oh yeah.
Persecutes based on
the basis of religion.
Okay. This is like Wendell. Christophobia. There is no such thing. I'm taking a weekend off I've been doing nothing but home improvements, gang. It's taken a lot of energy and life out of my system.
Yeah.
Plus all the other shit I got going on. So yeah, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to get tanked today. So you guys get to see some of that.
Kick back and have some drinks, Uncle Bobby. We'll
I plan on it.
Roll this fucked up ass tape.
Let's roll some fucked up ass tape.
A joke, and they're all having a giggle about it, and they're laughing about something that they know they probably shouldn't be laughing about. But I just have to, this meme, I have to say, sometimes I can find some kernel of truth in the memes that I cover on this channel, but this meme,
this one sucks.
I just don't even know what they're talking about. It wants to end religious persecution, but persecutes on the basis of religion. Where and when did Richard Dawkins persecute anybody on the basis of their religion? What are you talking about? Richard Dawkins hasn't persecuted anyone. All he's done is promote atheism. All he's done is write some books and explain why, in his estimation, there's no good evidence for God. That's it. Persecution? The man does talks. The man travels around and does interviews and gives lectures and works as a biologist and so on. What persecution could you
This is the emotional Munchausen slide, yo.
Absolutely.
possibly be referring to? I just don't get it. What persecution have religious people faced at the behest of Richard Dawkins? Now, unless you're going to introduce a radically strange definition of persecution and suggest that him saying things that you disagree with is a form of persecution,
For them
I mean,
it
that
is.
would be a ridiculous argument if that's where they're coming from in this meme. But unfortunately, it's fun to react to these memes, but one of the weaknesses of memes is that they're short sound bites, and one can only hypothesize as to what the creator of this meme was intending to convey, but I'm honestly baffled. You know what, dear listener? Why don't
I'm
you
not.
jump into the comments below and tell me? Perhaps I missed something. Maybe there's a news story where
Pause the
Dawkins
tape.
did something
Pause
that
the
was
tape.
terrible.
No, he's not missing anything. Feedback to a Christian is the equivalent to
Absolutely.
persecution.
Yes, 100%.
You know, they are so used to just being, again, I was told, and I'm starting to show you all those pictures of those Christians I keep telling y'all about that sit outside my HEB and just sit here and talk mad shit. When I first started talking about those suckers, I was told that I was persecuting them. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to hear an 11-year-old call me a sodomite.
Right.
I think it's real fucked up that someone has put that in that child's head. That was called persecution. When I made fun of Chris Pratt, a man worth millions, a man who's Twitter following, social media following, an A-list actor, he gets up there and all we get to hear about is how hard it is to be a Christian in Hollywood. He gets up and accepts some damn award and holds a church service. And when they pan the audience, 80+% of that audience is clapping so loud that he has to speak up on his mic. I said, oh, how brave it is to be a Christian, Chris. Ooh. Christians dumped on me for persecuting Chris Pratt. And I'm just like, what? It is feedback. Because for decades, if not centuries, Christians are used to calling gay people faggots.
Right.
Telling everyone who's not like them that they're going to burn and go to hell.
Absolutely.
Right? But now we're like, you know what? I think it's real fucked up that you just threatened those people over there with eternal torment. Why are you persecuting me?
Right. I can take away your rights, but you can't tell me I'm wrong.
Right. That right there. Someone make a meme out of what that man just said. Exactly. Nailed it.
Yeah, it's fucking awful. All right, let's roll this tape.
Maybe he persecuted somebody and I'm just blissfully unaware. If that has happened, I want to be informed on these matters. So jump into the comments below and let me know if there's something that I'm unaware of or if I'm ignorant on this question. But unless there's some example that can be shown to me, as far as I can tell, this meme is just an outright lie. It's just propaganda. It's hogwash. And with that said, I'm going to move on to the next one. Is atheist still expects Christmas presents?
True.
This is great. This is great because it's true. 100%. 100,000,000%.
Again, I can't speak for this brother. I don't know where he's from with that accent. But here's the thing. The one thing that we Christians and we atheists have in common, we all celebrate Christmas like a bunch of fucking atheists. I know people who sit here. I know people who have told me to my face that I'm going to go to hell, but they're stressed out because they found out that their neighbors, they've got their kids $2,500 worth of Christmas gift. They only spent $2,300. Oh, right. I got to go get some more shit for my kid. Hold on. This is supposed to be the day when a magical Jew was born. The thing is, Christians, we celebrate. I love Christmas because I know it is a surefire way for me to go back to Louisiana and all my family is there. I love my family. I miss my family. I don't give a fuck. And I've told them, do not get me a gift. The fact that I get to sit across the table from Reg, from Paula, from Tina, from Tim, the fact that I get to sit across the table from all those.
All at once.
That's all I want. I don't give. You want to go to church? Bitch, I want you to sit right here and I want to talk about what we did when we were 15 years old, racing down the fucking levee. You twisted the shit out of your ankle. Then I had to sit here and think of a goddamn lie what I was going to tell my Uncle Bill about. We celebrate Christmas the same. We celebrate it like a bunch of atheists.
That's right.
So again, and why is every meme Richard Dawkins?
Why is every meme Richard
Dawkins? And why do we always have to answer for this guy?
Apparently that's what's wrong. Apparently the answer to what's wrong with Christians is Richard Dawkins. That's
Okay. No, now we know. Shit.
Would be disgusted if my loved ones did not gift me with some presents at Christmas time. I would be horrified. And I love the implication here, but the implication, I'm afraid to say, I don't agree with. I think what's being implied here is that if you're an atheist and you expect a Christmas present from your loved ones and so on, that you're somehow or other engaged in a hypocrisy or something like that. But I do have to say, Christmas has long since transcended Christianity. Let's just face it.
Oh, yeah.
My
Exactly.
family celebrates Christmas, and Jesus is the furthest thing from everybody's mind. Nobody's thinking about Jesus. No one. No one ever mentions it. No one ever thinks about it. No one ever talks about it. Christmas is just a holiday.
That's right.
Where everybody gets together and we eat way too much and we give each other presents and we have a nice time. That's what Christmas is. It has transcended Christianity, and some Christians don't appear to recognize that fact. So no, I don't think it's hypocrisy to be an atheist and expect your loved ones to give you a gift. I mean, don't get me wrong. No, Christmas doesn't have to be about gifts, but when an expectation has been set, I would understand somebody being disappointed if it wasn't met. And for the
I said this when I was a little bit more on the combative side. I was that atheist that could not go 5 minutes without telling people I'm an atheist and giving them a debate topic. I remember talking about this years ago. And I was like, you don't buy into this bullshit that Jesus is the reason for the season. I remember who I said it to. It's like, oh, yeah, Robert, it was like, no, it's not. Then I challenge you. Christmas, which is coming up in a couple of days. For Christmas, don't give your kids a fucking gift. Nothing. Tell them, go upstairs, get your suit on. We're going to church. And we're going to spend all day at church. There will be no dinner. There will be no gifts. We're going to sit here and we're going to praise Jesus for 10 hours. Oh, you think that's rough? That's all you're going to do when you go to heaven.
Yes.
So we're going to practice
goodness.
now. No gifts at all.
Right.
No
It's
Christmas
just,
carols, no TV shows.
The only gift you need is the
Right.
gift of salvation.
Right. Jesus is the reason for the season. Do not buy your child a single gift. Don't do it.
Don't do
Go
it.
to church for 12 hours. Come back and tell me how that worked out for you. So again, no. Jesus is not the reason for the season. You guys know that. This is just bumper sticker bullshit. You guys don't buy into this crap.
Yep. But this is like better than the last one. I'll say that. It's got that element of truth to it. I'm also just realizing, do these people really not know any other atheists? Is that what this is? They don't know.
Apparently not. But
they're being persecuted, but they can't pull out more than one atheist.
He is the reason why we all have to answer for Richard Dawkins. It just didn't happen to me. All the other stuff I've seen, well, Richard Dawkins is like, do you want to talk to me or do you want to talk to Richard Dawkins? For whatever reason, he is our front runner.
Yeah, I guess because Hitchens is gone, and
I guess
he's more popular than Sam Harris. Maybe, I don't know. Let's go.
The last 31 years of my life, and I'm 31 at the time of this recording, dear listener, my loved ones have gifted me with various items at Christmas time, and I have reciprocated. So it would be quite strange if in the coming Christmas they just didn't do it. And I don't think my disappointment there would be a symptom of my hypocrisy. It would merely be a symptom of being let down by my family, who had set up an expectation that had then not been followed through on, despite many years of it having been followed through on. So yeah, I don't think there's any hypocrisy in atheists celebrating Christmas or expecting gifts or anything of that nature. Christmas has nothing to do with Christianity anymore, really. For some people, it does. Yeah, sure. I mean, there are probably very many Christians out there who take the whole thing very seriously. But I can assure you that for many people on the planet, that's not the case anymore. Christmas is just a time of relaxation, giving and receiving and joy and, you know, getting a break away from work, for goodness sake. And so, yeah, I don't think there's any hypocrisy here, but this game did
food and getting away from
well
work.
done. I don't know who created it, but whoever you are, well done. Let's move on to the next one. You say God's not real because you can't see him? I don't think you saw evolution either.
All right, I gotta just say for me, this one's funny because
I was waiting.
I do see evolution all the time. I actually get bored of seeing evolution. It's kind of my job, but you know, I do evolution experiments, and so you know, but you know, and that's what everybody has, because you know, science isn't the science that you do as an individual. It's the body of knowledge we've created, and so there's been plenty of observation of evolution. Also, even when you take it over the course of, like, say, a bigger time scale, because they're trying to give you you weren't around for the millions of years to see the bacteria turn into the fruit fly, turn into a horse, you know. But again, we have records of it. We have genetic records. We've got fossil records. I mean, it's insane. It's not. But and then again, you've got to do the flip. You've got to do the flip, and doing the flip destroys their whole religion. Not only can you not see God, I always think about, you guys could not have seen the creator or the biblical authorship. Like, the entire notion that some men a few thousand years ago could describe for you the creation of the universe and the fall of man is laughably ignorant.
Yeah.
And that's the proposition. So again, I don't know, if I were a Christian, I would never want to go there. Never want to go there.
But again, the fucked up part is your PhD, your continued study, you have to fight for center stage with people that can't hold your academic jockstrap.
Yeah, and lose most of the time.
Oh, yeah, and I know a lot about fighting. I do. And I will take correction from a 3rd degree black belt. I'll take correction from a green belt. I'll definitely take correction from a 9th or 8th degree black belt, people that outrank me. But you know who I'm not going to take correction from? Some asshole who's never studied, who just sat there and watched one UFC and be like, I know more than you. I'm like, get the fuck out of my dojo.
Right.
I'm not going to waste my time. And so the fact that people like you have to battle it out with people like that, it's like, come on, man. Why are you guys sharing the same stage?
Yeah, it's
not okay.
It's a bad state of affairs. But this is an interesting projection on this meme, because again, if I were Christians, I would never want to go there.
But they're entitled. They have been told, or at minimum, they have not been told to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Only in this discussion, because again, someone who knows nothing about evolutionary biology can pipe up about evolutionary biology, and their opinion is legit.
Yeah.
But again, the Christians who buy this, they've got nothing to lose. Again, let your kid spike 106 degree temperature, and when your pastor tells you to do something versus what your physician tells you to do something, who are you going to pick? But there's no real skin in the game when a Christian comes up to you, Bundy, and like, your fucking PhD doesn't mean shit. I just got on Bible.com, and what it tells me is,
right,
because they've got nothing real to lose from that.
Yes, that is a perfect way to put it. Yeah. All right, let's roll this.
Let's roll it.
Oh, there's so much wrong with this. I don't know how long this is going to take me to explain. So, first of all, no, I don't say God is not real because I can't see him. I don't say that. I mean, that's a problem. Sure, if you can't show me God, that's definitely a problem. But, you know, there are many things that I can't see, and yet I believe them to be real because the evidence is good. Ultimately, the reason I don't believe in God is because I don't have good evidence. There's not a satisfactory evidentiary
and neither do
warrant
Christians
for belief, in my opinion. I mean, I believe in air. I can't see air, but I can see its effects. If I look out my window right now, I can see the leaves rustling in the wind. And that, to my mind, is best explained by air. That's not an assertion. I can go then and perform an experiment. I can fill a balloon with air. You can weigh the balloon both before and after it has been filled with air, and you will notice, if you use a very sensitive scales, that it is heavier after it has been inflated. And so, yeah, we can demonstrate the existence of air, and we can remove all of the air from a room and create a vacuum and see that that has certain effects and so forth. The point is that air can be demonstrated despite the fact that I can't see it. I'm totally on board with the possibility that God could be demonstrated without him being shown to me. I don't need God to manifest in person in order to believe in God. I just need some good evidence. It's just very hard to hypothesize about what that evidence might look like, because ultimately we're talking about an unfalsifiable proposition. And if you want to know what I mean by that, dear listener, and you want more information on that, I made a video about this very topic, which I'll include in the description below if you're interested in learning more about what it would take to convince an atheist in the existence of a God. But moving on to evolution, this meme says that you didn't see evolution either. Now, that's actually false. That is just absolutely categorically false. We can directly observe evolution, and there's so much wrong here. So evolution can be observed in our lifetime. I mean, even Darwin discovered this on the Galapagos Islands with his finches. In a short space of time, I'll include some information on the screen because I don't have it at hand, but in a short space of time, new beak structures developed depending on which part of the Galapagos Islands the finches were located. So we were able to see evolution happen in our human lifetime, quickly, right? But what this meme is driving at is we haven't seen the ancestor of human beings and monkeys.
Also, for people that don't know, I do evolution experiments with digital organisms in a computer. So I see evolution happen rapidly, really fast.
I'm trying to keep my mouth shut on this.
Go ahead, Uncle Bobby.
Being the not evolutionary biologist, but I think the problem between the two sides of this conversation is the definition of evolution. Because when you sit here and it's easy to pick on them, but it's kind of been adopted as the ignorant battle cry for what evolution is, right? Okay, so since I did not see this computer mouse turn into a dog, therefore evolution is false. Kirk Cameron stood his monkey ass up and literally said crocoduck.
Wow.
The scientific side of the world said this is sitting on some bullshit. The rest of the world said, yeah, that's a knockdown, drag out argument. And so their definition of evolution walks hand in hand with a monkey fucked a Jack Russell Terrier, and out of the Jack Russell Terrier came part human, part rat, part roach, part amoeba. And so since I didn't see that,
right,
where's evolution?
Right.
We're not having the same.
We're not having the same conversation, right?
Yeah.
We would never say that that's how it works, and that's right. A really important point. Yeah, it's just
turn into a monkey or a human. And this is the flaw that's at play in many theistic challenges to the theory of evolution. They simply cannot grasp the amount of time that's involved. Right. We can observe evolution. We can observe little changes happening. As soon as you observe little changes happening due to mutations, change over time, basically, and change over time is a fact, then the only other variable that's required is a longer amount of time. And then those changes multiply, and in so doing, you get speciation and all of the variety of life that you see on the planet. This isn't difficult to understand. But of course, theists will assert, Christians will assert that evolution can't be observed because we can't observe it over the longest stretch of time. That's true. We cannot observe it over the longest stretch of time. We observe the small changes in the here and now, and then we extrapolate. But that's not a faith-based position. There are many things that we cannot observe directly because they take too long to happen, and yet we know that they happen. All you need to do is observe that something is happening in the present and observe that it continues to happen moving into the future, and then after that, it's simply a question of extrapolating into the future. And you can demonstrate evolution. It's not complicated. Let me give you a hypothetical to demonstrate the kind of ignorance that's at play in this challenge to evolution. Imagine we had some object X, and let's imagine that it takes object X 1,000 years to melt in the presence of the sun. Now, obviously, no human can live long enough to observe the entirety of that process, because humans don't live for 1,000 years. But here is what I'm positing. If we were to observe in the present that this object is in fact melting in the presence of the sun, and that it continues to melt over successive years, and every time we measure it, the object is melted a little bit more, and then we can calculate the rate of melting, and then using very simple mathematics, we can calculate that in 1,000 years, the object will have fully melted. Can you see that by observing the little changes in the present, albeit we won't observe the entire object melt in the space that
this is actually pretty good analogy,
because we don't live for 1,000
I was
years.
about to say
But
the
by
same.
measuring the rate of melting and extrapolating using basic arithmetic, we can calculate that the object will have fully melted by 1,000 years' time.
Pause
This
the
is
tape.
not complicated.
Here's the problem with what he's saying. A Christian is going to hear this, and the response will be, yeah, but that ice cube did not turn into a Ford F-150, therefore evolution is false.
Right.
Again, we are not having the same conversation. You heard that as the scientist, and you're like, oh, that sounded pretty good. My dumbass chimed in at the end, I'm like, yeah, he's right, it sounds pretty good. Then the Christian will come back and hear that and say exactly pretty much what it is I just said. That ice cube did not turn into a computer screen, therefore evolution is false. They can't hear you when you speak.
No, they can't. And the funny thing is, a lot of them have taken to the tactic of accepting microevolution because they've heard that script. Like, you can accept microevolution, like, because they know that
I've heard that.
they know that effectively they can't say.
All right, he froze.
Like,
There
they
he
say
is.
that they just don't realize it. Yeah, so it's garbage. It's one of those things. It's one of those things that I think it fits safely into like things they know they're wrong about, but they're still trying to remain loyal to the cause. It's like a total loyalty thing.
They are reaching. Reaching.
Yeah, they know they're sitting on some bullshit.
Totally.
The Christian then comes along and says, oh, but you can't observe it melting over 1,000 years, so therefore you don't know it's true. You've got faith just like me. Ha ha. But this is bullshit.
Nope.
We have observed melting happening in real time, and we can measure the rate of melting. And so with basic arithmetic, we can calculate that this object is going to have fully melted by 1,000 years' time. This is the fundamental misunderstanding and ignorance
and gang, we've actually done this in evolution. It's called the molecular clock. Like, you can account for a mutation rate and, you know, how the rate at which things change, and then extrapolate back, you know, and you get pretty good ranges, and it tends to match up to what we see in the fossil record and different things like that. That's why it's a really good analogy. Yeah.
At play in the challenge to evolution. Because we can't observe the biggest changes happening over the longest stretches of time, the Christian declares victory and says that evolution is a faith-based system. I've seen people call evolution a religion. Utter lunacy.
Yep.
The key point here is that it can be observed in the present, and then it's merely a question of extrapolation. That's it. And if you don't understand that after that's been explained, dear theist, well, then I can't help you. I can't help you. You are beyond reason, I'm afraid. So just to wrap a nice neat bow around this and bring this commentary on this particular meme to a close, no, I don't need to see God in order to believe in God. I just need good evidence. And yes, evolution can be observed, and there's very good evidence for it in the present. And if you disagree with either of those points of view, you're either ignorant or dishonest. And as I frequently say, I don't know what's worse. Let's move on. Ridicule's beliefs Enjoy his holidays.
No, same bullshit.
This is admittedly a variation of the other meme about being an atheist and expecting Christmas presents. But there's a slight difference, and I do.
So this is the same as when, what is it? What year is it? Yeah, it's 2023 AD, after death. That means Christ. That means you believe it. It's like, can we just stop? Right? Again.
Yeah.
Fuckface. I celebrate the holidays. I love Easter. I do. Not because I think, shut the fuck up. You know I love Easter? Because my dad used to smoke a ham. And it would take all day, and it was delicious. My mom would make either a macaroni salad, I think that's what people call it, or a potato salad. The rolls were fresh. That's what I remember. So you know what I still do?
Right.
I eat ham and I eat potato salad. I love all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember those Easter hams, man.
Oh fuck, they were incredible.
Yeah. That's how the Honey Baked Ham Company made its fucking name for itself.
My dad would get Pepsi. It was the only time we had name brand soda in the house because we were military. So our soda said soda. But for special occasions, I remember Dad would go get Pepsi, and there would be this big, whatever the fuck you want to call it. He dumped the Pepsi in. There'd be these smoked wood chips, and it was about 3 feet tall. I remember it was red, and you woke up to that smell because Dad would start it before any of us got up. I remember all of that stuff, and it's just beautiful memories. I still love Easter as an atheist for that reason. And again, Christians, put your money where your mouth is. No gifts on Easter. Definitely no gifts on Christmas. Go to church for 12 hours.
Exactly.
Then come back and tell us how all that shit worked out.
It's all about the resurrection.
Yeah.
It's all about the resurrection. No,
absolutely.
And it's funny, like they're kind of telling on themselves too, because they, like you said, they've really put this stuff to the back. Again, if you guys are the dominant brand, if you've got the numbers, if you're the lead dog, y'all have led us to a place where holidays don't mean shit. Again, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Mormons, the Buddhists, they're all celebrating your holidays. So, and again, that's what you get too, because you put them on the calendar. You made them official federal holidays. Everybody gets off. So shit, everybody's looking forward to that shit. Like
big time.
I do think it's worth discussing this here. So again, this is an allegation of hypocrisy. That, if you're an atheist and you ridicule people's religious beliefs and then simultaneously enjoy the holidays associated with those religious beliefs, then you're somehow or another a hypocrite. But just to re-articulate and to summarize the response that I gave to the previous meme that articulated this idea, remember, holidays like Christmas have long since transcended their Christian origins. Christmas is a cultural holiday now, and to the extent that it's still Christian, only Christians are celebrating it that way, and even many Christians aren't, it seems to me. But yeah, many people don't even think about Jesus Christ or think about religion at Christmas time. It's a completely cultural event.
Nobody cares.
But the reason I wanted to address this meme, in addition to that response, is to point out that it seems that in the minds of theists, that in order to be considered a genuine atheist, you have to resist or refuse to engage in anything that has an association with Christianity. And that really is a silly point of view. It reminds me of something that happened recently. For those of you who don't live in the UK, or for those of you who aren't aware of what's going on in the UK, the Queen, at the time of recording, recently died a number of months ago. And the new king was crowned, something that I think is very silly, truth be told. But as a consequence of this so-called coronation, everybody in the UK got a day off of work, including myself. And this debate about the monarchy came up in my workplace in the lead up to this day off. And I pointed out that I thought the whole thing is outmoded, outdated, immoral, and I gave all of the arguments. If you want me to make a video about that, dear listener, jump into the comments below. Maybe it's something I can do. It would be a little bit off topic for my channel, but you know, I like to try and experiment every now and then. Let me know in the comments below if you'd be interested in that. Suffice to say, in the midst of this debate, my interlocutor, who shall remain nameless, responded to me and said, "Oh yeah, but you're still going to take the day off though, aren't you?" A very similar argument to the point that's being proposed in this meme. And it seems that in the minds of many people, that if you benefit at all from a particular myth, then you are a hypocrite for benefiting from that myth. But as I said to that person then, and I'll repeat here now, first of all, I have no choice in the matter. I can't go into work. I'm a school teacher, a secondary, or what you might call in America, a high school teacher, dear listener, as many of you are well aware. If I had gone into work on that Monday, the bank holiday, first of all, the school would have been closed. And even if it were open, the students wouldn't have been there. So what would the point have been? It would have been ridiculous. In any case, I was reminded of that debate when I read this meme, because there's a very similar point at play here. It seems that theists have convinced themselves that if an atheist is involved in Christmas or any other holiday, if there's a religious bank holiday or something of that nature, that the atheists who benefit as a consequence of that bank holiday or celebration are to one extent or another engaged in an hypocrisy. But I would say the exact same thing in response to the theist, which is atheists have no choice. If my job is closed, if my workplace doesn't open because of some religious bank holiday, I mean, the Christmas holiday is my...
But see, that's the problem. Again, in order for us to be atheists, we have to fit their definition. We have to do what it is. Again, it's, you know, well, if you're an atheist, you'd be a nihilist. You're a materialist. It's like,
right.
I'm actually none of that. I don't even care. Well, if you're an atheist, you have to be. And it's on the same vein of trying to tell us that we are agnostics. It's like, no, I just told you I was an atheist. No, you're an agnostic. Okay, well, if you don't believe in a God, you won't celebrate Christmas. You won't observe any of our holidays. And like you said, you're right. He's right. I like taking time off from work. You mean I get to stay my black ass at home and still get paid? What seems to be the problem? It's that we don't fit their definition of what an atheist is. Well, why are you taking time off of Christmas? Because I like taking time off. I like to recharge my battery. Like I said, I like sitting across the table from my cousin Paula, who's half my size, and feeling safe because she's been my lifelong bodyguard. I don't live in Louisiana anymore. So as a result, the only time I get to be around Paula is pretty much during the holidays. That's why I like holidays.
Yeah.
So it's like we're not fitting their fucked up definition
Absolutely.
of what a non-believer is.
And to me, there's something sinister about all this too, because there's sort of a veiled threat to all of it. You know, oh, you're an atheist. Well, why do you want the holidays off? And then it's, oh, well, you're an atheist. Why do you want to get married? You know, that's a church thing, right? Because they what they want to do is expand the definition of what's a church thing or what's a religious thing. And that's a big part of their politics too, because they want to expand that to, well, you're an atheist. This hospice facility is a religious facility. Well, it's the only hospice facility in the county. Oh, well, isn't that just too bad, right? Because that's where they go with a lot of their things. Because again, I see the end game, which to me is if they want to deny a gay couple the right to have a wedding cake made at their facility, like, what do you think they want to say when the atheist comes to have a cake made? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so to me, that's part of the whole dominionism of Christianity. They want to take dominion over all the aspects of our lives and then kind of be like, oh, well, you don't want to get down with this Jesus thing. But yeah, so I don't know. That's that I know I probably was taking it a little far, but that's what I think of when I saw this meme.
Job ends. Because I'm a teacher, when Christmas rolls around, the school closes, the kids go home, there's nobody there. Are you telling me that in order to be considered a true atheist, quote unquote, I have to go to the building that I work at throughout the entire Christmas holiday and stand outside because it's locked and closed, but stand outside out of principle, even though there's no one to teach, the building is closed, and that's the only way for you to view me as a genuine atheist?
Yeah.
If that is the point here, that's ludicrous.
They're dumb, so you got to look.
It is utterly laughable, and it's quite telling that people on the theistic side of this discussion, if that is the case, if they're using arguments like that, this is revelatory of a supremely weak position. So rather than discuss the substance of whether or not there's good evidence for God, instead they're going to engage in a character assassination and allege that their interlocutors are hypocrites, which is just an insult at the end of the day. It's just an insult. And it doesn't address the substance of the argument at all. Even if they were correct, that doesn't mean that it's any more likely that there's a God. It doesn't mean that it's any more likely that atheists are wrong or any of it. You see, guys, when we get into a discussion about the people rather than their ideas, the conversation should have ended. Because my hypocrisy, if indeed I am a hypocrite, is utterly irrelevant. It's a non sequitur. That's what it is. It's an ad hominem. If you're going to call your interlocutors hypocrites and then declare victory, you have engaged in an ad hominem attack, an ad hominem fallacy. Rather than discuss the substance of the discussion, you're attacking the person and then pretending that you've won. Now, just to be clear, not all insults are ad hominem attacks. An ad hominem attack is specifically an argument where rather than addressing the key point, somebody attacks your character and somehow assumes that by attacking your character that they've scored a point in favor of their position. In this case, the position of theism. And that's what's at play in this meme. The goal is to make atheists look like they're wrong because they might be hypocrites. But that doesn't follow. It's a non sequitur. It's an ad hominem fallacy. Even if every atheist on the planet was a hypocrite, that doesn't serve as evidence for theism, I'm afraid. And so, with all that acknowledged, let's move on to our final meme. We're almost there, folks. I don't let religion rule my life. Talks about Christianity.
He got us.
This fucker
he got us with that one.
Best for last. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Talks about Christianity every day. If there is a Christian listening to this, this is your fault. Go back and go look at every single video I've ever made on Gin and Truth on YouTube. Go ahead. Go and look at every episode of The Blackout. Go ahead. Go look at Skeptic Generation. Go look at their entire catalog. Go ahead. Go look at the Atheist Experience. Look at their entire catalog. Go ahead. Now, tell me, of all the atheist YouTubers, how many times have we bashed or criticized Islam, Judaism, Mormonism, Hinduism, all the isms? You want to know why we don't talk about those fuckers?
Because they don't have a fucking building across the street. They leave us the fuck alone.
Exactly. They leave us alone. Christian, this is the hypocrisy. You want everyone to know your message. You want to literally break the law so that you can remain up front and center in American conversation.
Right.
And then you guys want to, this is like Trump. This is like Trump. I remember halfway through the Trump presidency, Kayleigh McEnany, all the fuckers at Fox. All you guys do is talk about Trump. You're obsessed with Trump. He's the president of the United States. I can't turn on my TV without seeing his fucking face. The world shut down during his presidency, and he completely fist fucked American progress during
absolutely.
COVID. You're like, why are you always talking about? Why are you talking about Trump? He's the president. So it's this. Why do you talk about Christianity? Because you guys won't shut the fuck up. I would love to stop talking about Christianity, but I can't, because Christians, you make our life harder. So now we're going to criticize you.
Again, we're about to watch the, Republicans debate to determine who's going to be their candidate to be the next president of the United States of America. And Christians would not dare vote for a leader for this country unless they jerked off Jesus publicly.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
It's
a prereq.
So that's why we talk about it every day, because we have to deal with it every day. But they got us, man. Look, like I said, Christianity is my least favorite subject.
Yep.
It's the thing we have to talk about every day until we end it, But oh fuck. Got him. Got him.
I love it. I love it because basically I'm the guy in the picture, right? I'm the guy in the picture. I don't let religion rule my life. I'm a free thinker. I'm a skeptic. And yet I spend every week of my life talking about Christianity, theism, and going through the arguments for God's existence and all the rest of it. I think hypocrisy is something of a theme in the memes that I've selected for this video, and that wasn't intentional at all, but I suppose there is an allegation of hypocrisy in this final meme as well. You're a hypocrite if you say that religion doesn't rule your life and yet you spend all your life talking about religion. I suppose what I'd say in response is a counter analogy. This reminds me of, a doctor saying that, I hate disease and, I want to defeat disease and I think disease is a terrible thing, and yet I spend my life fighting against disease. Is that doctor a hypocrite? Is he? Is she? Are they?
It is.
I don't think so. If anything, they're being perfectly consistent. I've gone over and back as to whether or not I self-identify as an atheist or an anti-theist. I guess it depends on the day and what mood I'm in. But let's just say, for argument's sake, I'm an anti-theist. Am I really a hypocrite if I'm an anti-theist and I spend my time bad-mouthing religion and talking about its critical failures, its evidentially bankrupt nature, and its immoral prescriptions? If anything, that's consistent, right? This is a really weird thing. It's as though they assume that if you're an atheist, you have to have nothing to do with religion or never talk about religion.
Yeah, and I feel this way too as an evolutionary biologist. Like, we could have courses and teach grad students about how, this mutational pathway differed in the ferns and it created these other ferns. And wow, fucking amazing. I was like, I'm going to focus on, again, once we realize the broad spectrum of creationism is all these people over here who don't truly accept that they have evolved, right? Who don't truly accept this theory, who don't truly understand the implications for what this says about the natural world. Like, I see that as a big problem, even though for, a lot of people I work with and teach with, that, they don't get it, right? They're like, that's, isn't this other thing biology education? I'm like, yeah, but this is, we need to take care of this too, right? Like, yeah.
But the truth is, many people become atheists, not just because the evidence isn't there, but because they see the damage that religion is doing in the world. Now, just to be clear, I'm not suggesting that it's a good idea to become an atheist because religion is harmful. That would actually be a non sequitur. Remember what I've said here, folks. People become atheists, at least in my experience and from what I've observed and from what I've seen in the online space and atheists I've met, people become atheists because they decide that the evidence is lacking. But then they also notice that religion is quite harmful in addition to that. And so they dedicate their lives, some of them, like myself, to promoting skepticism and to fighting against theocracy and indoctrination and immoral religious practices. That's not inconsistent. That's not hypocritical. That's consistent.
Yeah.
All you need to do is care about your fellow man, and then you will acknowledge that the way women are treated in Saudi Arabia, for example, is antithetical to equality and antithetical to their well-being, or the way homosexuals might be treated in conservative religious communities in the Bible Belt in the United States, or the way children are treated in Catholic schools throughout the world when they're indoctrinated into believing evidentially bankrupt ideas.
Yep.
There's nothing at all hypocritical about resisting any of that. I mean, what? I mean, let me just throw one more analogy to see if I can convey my intuition in a stronger way. So somebody says that they're a vegetarian. They don't want to have anything to do with meat. And then they spend their life campaigning against meat consumption. Is that person a hypocrite?
No.
You know, reforming the meme.
Right.
You could say, I don't
That might be a little annoying
meat
at the barbecue.
rule my life, or I don't allow meat to be part of my life. Talks about vegetarianism or talks about not eating meat every day. Would that be hypocritical? I don't think so. It's entirely consistent. If you view meat as harmful, as immoral, and as a bad thing, then isn't it perfectly consistent that you would spend some of your time
100%.
or much of your time campaigning against it? Well, that's me, folks. Not only do I see religion as untrue, I see not all of it, but much of it as harmful. And so I resist it. And my YouTube channel, which is a nobody YouTube channel, let's face it, I'm not a big fish, but I've had enough of emails and messages and responses to my work from people who've said that I've helped them or that I've changed their mind. You know, if I only helped one person, I would be flabbergasted, but there are many people who have responded to me and said that my work here on this channel has been good for them. And so I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, even if I only have a very small impact.
Yeah.
So be it. I'm helping in my own way, and I think that's a good thing, and it certainly doesn't make me a hypocrite. But what do you think, dear listener? What do you think about any of these memes? Do you agree with my responses? Could I?
Yeah, that was good.
I'm with that because he's right. If you are a vegan for like ethical reasons and you stand up, you're going to sit here and talk about what it is you disagree with the meat industry. I totally get that. Whatever your stance may be, I hate the fucking Atlanta Falcons. They all can go fuck themselves.
Right.
So yeah, during the football season, my tweets are pro Saints and fuck the Falcons because that's what I believe in. The reason why we have to hear from our Christian family members is because, and I mean, I think it was Daniel Dennett, and I'm paraphrasing, there's no kind way to say that everything you believe in is sitting on some bullshit. And not only is it sitting on some bullshit, it is harmful. It is demonstrably harmful. And the only good thing about what you believe is that it takes no commitment, right? I'm a sinner, I'm horrible, I'm terrible. Blah, 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 blah. Then you turn around and you tell your kids, you're special. You can do anything you want if you put your mind to it. Now turn around and tell your kids, you ain't shit. You're horrible. I'm going to go across the street and kill my next door neighbor's dog for you. That's how fucked up you are.
Right.
Christians alike would say, you're a bad parent. You are a bad dad. You are a bad mom.
Absolutely.
Right. So again, we stand up and talk about this shit because it is harmful. It is.
But they want to glorify a book where dude actually is willing to sacrifice the kid.
Oh yeah.
And and we've all been there in those churches, because every church uses that sermon as a perfect example of God's faith and how
Oh yeah.
wonderful it is to be
Oh yeah.
unquestioning of his commands.
But they don't practice that.
Right.
It's easy to say. And I still remember who said it to me first when they found out I was an atheist. God sacrificed his son. Translation, God murdered his own son. And I remember she said, well, I wouldn't do that. And I was like, because you're not fucking supposed to. you're giving kudos to some. Well, you don't kill your kid because you're not supposed to fucking kill your kid. And again, the best thing about what they believe, it requires no commitment at all whatsoever. We should speak out against a father that harms his kids. We're supposed to speak out against a father who intentionally gives his kids lethal diseases and then hides the cure. And then when the kids find out that there is a cure, he makes them beg for the cure. You're supposed to fight against that.
Absolutely.
Come on,
Absolutely.
man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, garbage.
It is 100% indoctrination. Ember, hey, what's up, man? Y'all did a great show today. Make sure y'all check that out on Ember's channel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ember and Uncle Bobby had to sit down. That was a surprise, man. We was just chilling in the middle of the day, and pop, there you guys were.
It was fun. I'd go back on Ember's channel. I'm not even drunk yet. Channel in a heartbeat. That was a good conversation. Absolutely. Loved it.
That was a ton of fun, man. These memes were fun. Couple of them were pretty good. Couple of them were actually pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Uncle Bobby, you got any closing thoughts for us today?
Man, that was a good show. Let's keep this thing going. That's all I can say about that.
We'll be back at it next week, man. That was super fun.
Absolutely.
All right, love you guys. Uncle Bobby, take us home.
All right, gang. The big guy and the medium guy, we've held you long enough. We're signing the fuck off. The blackout. Let's go.